Plastic surgery promises perfection, a better nose, a tighter body, a fresher face, a new life. For millions, it's a dream come true. But sometimes, that dream turns into a nightmare. Sometimes the price of beauty isn't just money, it's your health, your identity, even your life. Today, we're diving into real-life horror stories where the pursuit of perfection crossed a dangerous line, where trusted clinics, desperate decisions, and even fake doctors led to devastating tragedies. These are the cases where things didn't just go wrong, they went horrifyingly, irreversibly wrong. Story number 1. Hang Mioku, the woman who couldn't stop. Sometimes the scariest horror stories don't come from haunted houses or abandoned asylums. Sometimes they start in a mirror, with just one small change. Hang Mioku was once a beautiful young woman. In the late 1980s, she had dreams of becoming a model and singer in South Korea. She had delicate features, a shy smile, and a spark in her eyes. But like many in the beauty industry, she felt the constant pressure to be perfect. Her first cosmetic surgery seemed harmless, a little tweak here, a touch-up there. And for a while, it gave her the boost she wanted. Compliments rolled in. She felt more confident. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. Hang became obsessed. She began visiting clinics regularly, begging doctors for more and more procedures. Not because she needed them, but because she believed she did. Even as her face began to change unnaturally, Hang couldn't stop seeing imaginary flaws in the mirror. Eventually, her surgeons refused to operate on her anymore. They said her skin was too damaged, too fragile. They begged her to stop. But obsession doesn't listen to reason. Out of desperation, Hang found a black market doctor, someone willing to sell her industrial silicone. Not medical grade, not safe, the kind of silicone used for mechanical parts, things like cars and machines. Hang took the silicone home, and in a heartbreaking spiral, she began injecting it into her own face and neck. At first, she thought it was working, but within weeks, her face swelled dramatically. Her features warped, her skin thickened and hardened. Neighbors stopped recognizing her. Children cried when they saw her. And still, Hang couldn't stop. She became so disfigured that her own parents didn't recognize her when she came home. Eventually, Hang's story made it to Korean television. In a desperate appeal, she appeared on a national program to ask for help. Viewers were stunned. Thousands of people donated money to fund corrective surgeries. Doctors performed multiple operations to remove as much of the injected material as possible, but the damage was permanent. They could fix parts of the swelling, but Hang would never fully return to her old appearance. Today, Hang Mioku lives quietly, working in a recycling shop. Her story has become a chilling reminder, not just about the dangers of black market surgery, but about how powerful and destructive self-image obsession can be. Hang's story isn't just a cautionary tale about bad surgeons. It's about the dangers of chasing perfection, when you lose sight of yourself. And sometimes the biggest monsters we face aren't out there. They're staring back at us in the mirror. In a world obsessed with appearance, perfection is just one click, and sometimes one flight away. We scroll past images of influencers with flawless bodies, tiny waists, and hourglass curves, and quietly, many of us wonder, what would I look like if I just made one change? For 25-year-old Leah Cambridge, that change was a Brazilian butt lift. Known as a BBL, it's one of the most sought-after cosmetic procedures in the world. It promises dramatic curves without implants, just a little liposuction and a fat transfer. Sounds simple, safe even. But what Leah and many others didn't know is that the BBL holds a dark truth. It's also the most dangerous cosmetic surgery in the world. And in Leah's case, it would prove deadly. Leah was a young mother from Leeds, England. She had 3 beautiful boys, a loving partner, and a bright spirit that filled every room she walked into. But like many women, she struggled with body image. She had insecurities, especially after giving birth. She wanted to feel confident again, to look the way she imagined she should. On social media, she'd see the BBL transformation over and over. Tight waists, lifted curves, glowing post-op selfies. So, after saving up and doing what she thought was research, she booked her procedure. Not in the UK, where it was far more expensive, but in Turkey, where the surgery came at a fraction of the cost. She never imagined it would be her last trip. Leah's partner, Scott, said she was nervous, but excited. She flew out alone, trusting that she'd be in good hands. The clinic was polished, the website filled with success stories and reviews. Everything looked legitimate, and they reassured her. It was safe, routine, and over in just a few hours. But during the surgery, something went terribly wrong. While injecting the fat into her buttocks, the surgeon made a critical error. Some of the fat entered her veins, something that can happen if the injection goes too deep. That fat traveled through her bloodstream, blocking blood flow to her lungs and heart. It's called a fat embolism, and it can kill in minutes. Leah went into cardiac arrest, right there on the table. Medical staff tried to revive her, but she was already gone. Just hours after arriving at the clinic, full of hope and nerves, Leah Cambridge was dead. She was 25. The news devastated her family. Scott, her partner, was left to explain to their children that Mommy wasn't coming home. Her parents were shattered, her friends in disbelief. But perhaps what's most heartbreaking is this: Leah's story isn't unique. It's one of many. In the past decade, the BBL has become infamous in the medical world, not because of how popular it is, but because of how frequently it ends in death. Studies have shown the fatality rate is as high as 1 in 3,000, making it the most dangerous aesthetic procedure available. And yet, it continues to grow in popularity, fueled by social media, filtered images, and the promise of a new body. What many patients don't know is this: if fat is injected even slightly too deep into the muscle instead of the tissue, it can pierce a vein. Once inside, that fat acts like a bullet to the heart. Surgeons trained in these procedures know how careful they have to be, but not every clinic operates by the book, especially in countries where regulation is looser and profit matters more than safety. Leah's death sparked outrage in the UK. Her case made headlines and prompted public health warnings. But still, people continue to board planes for budget procedures, unaware of the risks. Leah Cambridge was not a risk-taker. She was a mother, a partner, a daughter. She simply wanted to feel better in her own skin, to chase confidence. But what she didn't know is that the pursuit of beauty, when placed in the wrong hands, can be fatal. So if you're listening to this and thinking about going under the knife, especially abroad, ask yourself, what is it really worth? Because no trend, no body type, no online before and after is worth losing your life. Story number 3. The Fake Doctor of Miami. The true story of Oneal Ron Morris. Imagine trusting someone with your body, your health, your life, only to find out they were never a doctor at all. This is the true and horrifying story of Oneal Ron Morris. You might know her by another name, the toxic Tush Doctor. The story begins in Miami, a city where cosmetic procedures are almost as common as palm trees. In a place obsessed with curves and beauty, demand for affordable body enhancements is sky high, and Oneal Ron Morris saw an opportunity, not to heal, but to profit. To many, Morris looked like a professional. She wore a lab coat, she carried syringes, and spoke like someone who knew what she was doing. She offered low-cost procedures to women desperate for the kind of bodies they saw all over social media. Bigger hips, fuller buttocks, no surgery, no hospitals, no questions asked. But what these women didn't know was what Morris was injecting into their bodies. There was no medical-grade filler, no sterile environment. Instead, her formula consisted of mineral oil, cement, and Fix-A-Flat. Yes, tire sealant, the stuff used to patch car tires. She called it a miracle mix. In reality, it was a cocktail of poison. One by one, her clients began to suffer. Their bodies reacted violently to the foreign substances. Massive infections formed. Some experienced severe disfigurement, skin that hardened, warped, and blistered. Others were hospitalized in agonizing pain, unable to understand what had gone so horribly wrong. One woman had such a severe reaction, doctors had to surgically remove large portions of infected tissue just to save her life. Some women never fully recovered, and in at least one case, someone died from the complications. When authorities finally caught up with Morris, the truth came out. She had no medical license, no surgical training, just a history of deception and a long trail of victims. Photos of Morris began to circulate, her own body dramatically altered by the very same injections she gave to others. Her figure was almost surreal, exaggerated beyond natural limits. She became a symbol of everything wrong with underground cosmetic culture. In 2017, after multiple arrests and years of investigations, Oneal Ron Morris was sentenced to 10 years in prison. But for many of her victims, justice came too late. They still live with the aftermath. Scars, both physical and emotional, a constant reminder that beauty, when placed in the wrong hands, can turn into a nightmare. So why did so many trust her? Desperation, social pressure, and the illusion of expertise. Because when someone looks the part, talks the talk, and offers a cheaper path to your dream body, it's easy to believe. But this story is a warning. If a deal sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And the cost of chasing beauty in the wrong places might not just be your money. It might be your life.